You are a visionary, an entrepreneur, a business owner. You want to make money from your passion and create the freedom that you've dreamed of. But it's slow. The income is slow, the impact is slow, and the freedom is slow. And here's the kicker. You've actually never been busier. You're working longer than ever, burning through daylight, and your family have forgotten who you are. You're tired and frustrated and you can't even sleep well at night. The business just feels so heavy, and all you ever wanted to do was just make the money you want to make doing the things that you want to do. And that's where I come in. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Storme, and I'm the host of the Business Acceleration Podcast, where we shift your business from heavy to light, time poor to time abundant, and from income lack to income growth. We're going to achieve it together with my 20 years experience as a psychologist, helping people just like you to break through their barriers. And we're going to throw in a little of the woo as well. So thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Business Acceleration Podcast. I'm so excited to be here today because I'm going to introduce you to this amazing light. Her name is Briana Ross. Briana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Brooklyn. I am very excited to be a part of this. Thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So can you share with us a little bit about who you are, who you help, and how you help them?
Yes. So I am a brand strategist, graphic designer, and speaker, and I teach entrepreneurs how to build their brands around building relationships with their audiences. One thing that I've noticed is this online world is very impersonal, and so people need that connection. And so I teach my clients how to form a story, build connections with their audience, and really provoke action based on building relationships. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and it's been absolutely amazing. And so I mostly work with female entrepreneurs. And yeah, that's been a lot of fun.
And so tell us a little bit about how did you get into this?
Yes, so I actually come from a sales, customer service, and marketing background. So working, and I actually had gotten married, and we had our first daughter. She was turning 1. And during that first year of her life, I was working from home. And so I had a lot of flexibility, but I really started to wonder about the possibilities out there, right? I was doing some research. I had got introduced to a few entrepreneurs, and my mind just started to go everywhere. So I began to do some research, and I realized that the skill sets that I had learned working for, previous corporations, amazing companies, that equipped me with a lot of knowledge to help business owners really create a unique experience for their customers and clients. So starting out, I coached in every single area you probably could think of, almost. And as time went on, I niched down and focused on branding.
Okay, so what are some of the mistakes you see entrepreneurs make when it comes to their branding? Because I guess you've seen a lot.
Yeah. So one of the main things is strictly marketing and promoting your products and services. You can't just sell to people. You have to let them know why they should buy from your brand. There are so many other businesses that offer similar or even the same products and services as we do. So we have to be able to set ourselves apart in what sometimes feels like a saturated industry, right? We have tons of coaches, tons of consultants. And so how do you get your brand to stand out in this crazy world full of amazing entrepreneurs? So that's the first thing. So you have to focus on building a relationship and really getting to know your audience and giving value. One of the other things I see is entrepreneurs picking their branding just because it's something they like, their logo or their colors, which that's fine, but I highly recommend doing some market research to find out what your audience is interested in and studying some color psychology also, figuring out what colors, what type of emotions certain colors evoke. So those are the top 2 things, just selling and, not really thinking the visual branding all the way through. And a third thing that I see is We get nervous when it comes to sharing our stories. We don't realize that our story is what sets us apart, and that's what makes you relatable. So your audience will come to love you when they know, like, and trust you. So build that know, like, and trust factor by being relatable, sharing your story, so you can show your audience that, hey, I am that go-to person for you because I've either been through in your shoes, or I know someone very close to me who has been through, that what you're going through.
Yeah, I think sometimes people get a little bit nervous about knowing what to share.
Right.
And
I
yeah,
personally can relate to that. So when I first started my business, I'm going to be honest, I didn't make any money in my business. And I can comfortably say that now. But of course, during the moment, I did not want to talk about it, admit that. And, sometimes it's easier to talk about things after the trial, after you've gotten through that challenge. So I tried to hide behind my brand. I didn't want to be the face of my brand. I was like, I'm just going to offer these services, no pictures, just kind of, just graphics all over the place. And my brand suffered a lot from that. But once I started to open up to my audience, let them know about my life as a mom, let them know, what type of struggles and what type of, challenges I faced, I noticed a huge shift. People started to trust me more because they knew I understood them. So once I finally learned that, it was the light switch finally went off.
yeah. So, at what point do you know when it's an overshare versus when it's like a healthy share for your business?
That's actually a really good question. So I would base it off of how your product or service fits into the daily lives of your customers and clients. So if it is not relatable for them, because you want to really get to know your audience, you should think about what they do on a daily basis. The demographics matter, but you really want to think about those goals and challenges. So share your story based on things that they can relate to. And that's why that market research and really outlining who your audience is, or who your buyer persona, ideal client, there's so many different names, but really just focusing on getting to know them. That way you know what they're interested in and what turns them off.
Okay. And so then let's say that, we want to start telling our story. Is there a guide that we should be following? Is there a process for, how to begin the story and what should be in the middle and how it should finish?
Yeah, so I kind of think of the bullseye, right? So you start with your why. So one of the first areas that I get my clients to focus on is their why, your brand values. Why are you doing this? Why are you so passionate about this? What does this mean to you? And really just figuring out how this business fits into the vision for your life, because you're using your entrepreneurial journey to get somewhere, right? A lot of us are searching for different things, and our purpose may be completely different, and that's okay. Everyone's different. But you want to start with why and really, speaking to that emotional side. And then you want, just really getting transparent. And then I say, go into the how, and then sharing how you help your clients, again, tying that story in. And then you go into what you're actually offering. So you want to start with the why to, again, speak to that emotional side, build that rapport, share your story. And then you go into how you help your clients through that process to solving that problem.
I see. And where on earth are we going to find these stories? What if I feel like I don't have any story that anybody might be interested in?
So you kind of have to get out of your own head. And that's just one thing that I've learned on this journey. We oftentimes overthink things, and that can honestly that can paralyze us. So you have to, just really focus on just giving value, sharing who you are, building that relationship. unfortunately, not everyone's going to like you. You know, that's just the reality of it. But you have to trust that when you share your story, you're going to attract the right people for your brand. So it does take a little bit of mindset work, but your story matters. And there is someone out there who can relate to your story, and not just someone. There's a group of people. You have a tribe, you have a community. You just have to get in front of them.
Yeah. And so should we be sharing stories around our own struggles, or should we be sharing stories around our journey, or, what makes for good content, I guess, for stories?
Yeah, so I believe in making it a mixture. So, of course, when you have a personal brand, it is a little bit different. Now, if you have a product or service, you may take into the journey of creating the products, right? And the actual process, the shopping process, the creation process, those types of things. But again, it just goes back into really understanding what your audience is interested in. And it's going to take some testing. Every brand is different. So testing things out, trying out different types of content, that's going to allow you to really see what your audience is interested in and what they may not be so interested in. And one thing I like to do all the time, I run polls. I ask questions, using IG stories. I use my Facebook group, and I really just ask questions to figure out what people are interested in. That way I can create content that they're interested in. And it's a confidence booster for me also, because I know that I'm sharing information that they're interested in.
Okay. And so should storytelling be part of a marketing strategy that a business has, or should storytelling just be something we do every now and again when we're launching something?
So it's definitely should be a part of your strategy overall, because again, it's about being relatable. So you want to be, just keep your audience engaged, share those stories. Now, you don't have to post a story every day, but it's about offering a variety and getting them used to your brand, because again, we don't just want to sell all the time. Selling is fine, but you need to build that rapport, and storytelling allows you to do that. Now, you may say, I don't have anything else to share I don't know what else to share. So then you may go into sharing the stories of customers and clients. Of course you want to get that approval from them, and you may, use them as a case study, but you want to, that social proof is going to help you also. So share your stories, share your audience's stories, and let people know that this is a community effort, and that you're really focusing on getting to know them and giving them that value.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So, in your business as a female entrepreneur yourself, how do you overcome doubt and adversity when it arises in your business?
Yeah, so I sometimes have to take a step back. I feel like a lot of some of the self-doubt we face is oftentimes because of the online world, and seeing other success stories, or seeing what other people are doing and wondering if that's the right thing for us. And yes, you may say, hey, that's a good idea, I may need to try that for my brand or see how that works out for me. But don't get so caught up on what other people are doing. I had to learn my lane and start walking boldly in it. And that just really allowed me to not have as much doubt and not to question what I do as much. So I think it's really about just getting clear on what you want and who you are. And once you start doing that self-work, that's going to pretty much radiate into the different areas of your life.
Okay. And so, as somebody who has her own business focused on brand strategy, what are the differences, do you think, between, having not a personal brand? Like, my business is a personal brand. It's, Brooklyn Storm Business Acceleration Coaching versus, say, McDonald's. It's not a
Right.
personal brand.
So if you think about it, even with McDonald's, they still tell stories. You think about their commercials, they're showing, families or, someone on a busy schedule, kind of on the go, but they still focus on telling some sort of story and making it relatable for the customer, because they want you to see yourself in the shoes of their customers and their clients. So it's pretty much the same thing with you, with your brand. You may not share, there are different ways to share your story. So of course, it's going to depend on the actual structure. If you're a corporate brand, or, if you have a personal brand, if you're product-based, service-based, those different types of things. But ultimately, it goes back to storytelling. Now, whose story they tell, that's where things, may change up a little bit, but it all relates back to some sort of story.
Okay. And in your professional opinion, what makes a really good story?
So for me, I guess, I was kind of thinking my personal opinion, but you said my professional opinion.
It can be either, don't worry. What's your personal opinion?
So I feel like really good stories are just they really tug at your heartstrings. So, they really go into taking you back to a place where you could just really relate to it. So, sometimes I hear stories, I cannot stand to see, let me change my words a little bit, because I'm not going to say I can't stand it, but it breaks my heart to see sad commercials. They tug at my heart, and I'm like ready to pull out my wallet, but it's because they really speak to that emotional side, and they show you that this is what's really going on. This is how you can help. You can make a difference. And so it's really just about getting to that emotional side. And, for me, I think about when I share my story with my audience, I may not share like a full story, but I post, jokes with my kids. I'll post pictures, of my kids. So they see that I'm a mom, they see that I'm a mom and I'm building this business. I may share, a picture of, me at the gym. So they see that, health is important to me. So it's not just about having that one post that just spells out your entire story. No, you pick different pieces and you trickle them out there to your audience, and that just allows them to get a glimpse of the brand. Now, if you don't have a personal brand, then you may share, a day at the office, you may share, teammates, you may share reviews. You may go into a lot of other areas, but it's really just about showing people, hey, we're relatable, we have what you need, and this is how we can help.
Okay. So I can absolutely relate to what you were saying about those advertisements where they tug at your heartstrings.
Yes.
So I have a dog, his name is Gabe, on television about rescue dogs, and it says got a lady and she's patting her dog, and she says, everybody says I rescued Oscar, but Oscar rescued me. And then
Yes.
I burst into tears, and I look at my dog, and I
Yes.
go and donate money.
They took you to a place where you were reminded of that love that you have for your baby. And that's what it's all about, is just putting yourself in your audience's shoes and feeling where they are. And you may not be in that space, but, at the moment, but at some point, you guys may have crossed paths and had similar challenges. So how can you tap into that, and how can you speak to that and build that relationship?
Yeah, I think when somebody first mentioned to me the idea of sharing a story, I'd kind of already been doing it, but then I realized, oh, maybe I need to do it in a different way, and it needs a structure and things like that. And for a little while there, I got a bit overwhelmed because the only thing that's really coming to my mind, it's not a great example, but like America's Got Talent, or Britain, the people that but people always have like this really sad backstory. And I thought, oh, do I need to have a really bad backstory in order to be relatable? And then I
And you
used to see,
don't. Yeah.
oh, well, I thought that was the model that I had to use to
Right.
create
Yeah.
my story.
So that, but that's a very valid point to make. And that oftentimes is how we feel. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. And that goes again to having your story and sharing that. Not, our experiences are different. And again, that goes back to finding that community and those people who relate to you. And your brand, you may not have to go back to a very traumatic place. You may go back to, well, I won't say that gaining weight isn't traumatic. It was for me. So I guess it's just your personal preference. But, someone, a fitness trainer, they may tell a story of, when they were down and how working out saved their life, so it doesn't have to be, hey, I was traumatized as a child. I went through all of these things. That may be the story for many people, but that may not be your story. And that's perfectly fine. Just know that there are people out there who are going to be able to relate to your story, and they're going to gravitate to you just off of your aura and your vibe and just, you being who you are.
Yeah. Are there any tips or tricks that you can recommend to help people start to gather story data, I guess, during the course of a day or a week? Is there anything that entrepreneurs could be doing?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is, again, run polls, see what your audience is interested in, ask them questions, get feedback. Another thing you can do is, just put content out there. We oftentimes overthink the process, but it's really not that complicated. So, just start testing things out, put it out there, see what type of, response you get, and tweak things from there. Another thing you can do, look at your audience's profiles. It's really important to engage on social media. So study a little bit. What are they doing on a day-to-day basis, and how does that relate to what you do? How can you, fit those types of stories and similar to what they're sharing into your content strategy? So those are 3 things that would definitely help you get started.
Okay. That's really great advice. Something that I do is I use Evernote, and
Mm-hmm.
as things sort of happen in the business from day to day, I'll just quickly write myself a short, note about what happened, if it was a challenge, or if there was a difficult situation, or if there was a success or something like that. That I think, this might be something that people might be inspired by, or that I can share, or that, I learned something from. Maybe by me sharing it, somebody else can learn something from it. So that's
I
something.
love that. That's a really good idea. And, I'm a writer, so I journal. And so I kind of do something similar, but I like the intentional, having that space where you can write about those experiences. And, with my journal, I flip back, but I think it's really important. Document things, write things out. If you write, maybe not every day, but if you could dedicate a couple of times a week, maybe 15 minutes, you don't have to do much, but just start documenting things, how your day went, how your business is going, maybe some of the things you did for your business that day. Over time, you will get to actually see how much you've grown. And we oftentimes don't give ourselves enough credit. We get so caught up in our goals and our vision and things not going as planned. And so we oftentimes need to take a step back and look at everything we've accomplished. You're so much farther than where you started, and you have to give yourself credit for that.
Yes, so true.
Yes.
So, yeah, with your business, it's 3 years old, you were saying, and it's come a long way too. Where do you see your business going over even the next 3 years?
So over the next 3 years, I would like to shift a little bit more into facilitating workshops and maybe even, corporate workshops. One of the things I got to start doing in 2018, but a little bit more seriously in 2019, was start hosting events for entrepreneurs. And I realized that there's such a need for this information. So I'm really just focusing on giving value and just giving. So one of the things I'm doing this month is launching my book. So that's really exciting, but I know that this is an amazing tool that will allow me to get into a different area of branding and being able to speak more, because I now have this tool that solidifies my message.
Okay, I want to hear all about your book. But first of all, I have to ask you something, because you mentioned it at the beginning and I was taking notes as you were talking and I forgot to come back to it. But yeah, when you say we need to be really focusing on giving value, I feel like that gets confused with giving people offers.
Yes. I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sometimes when people think that they're giving me value, what I'm seeing is a sales page. Or they feel like they tell me that they're going to give me value, and maybe they give me a webinar and they give me 2 steps of a 7-step process, and and then I've got to try and find another webinar somewhere else that's going to give me, maybe step 5, and then I've got to kind of duct tape it all together and hope I can make sense of it.
And
so, yeah, I would love if you could share a little bit about, what does giving value actually mean in practical terms?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. And the reason I focus on value is because I know how fluffy this internet world is. And so I really just think about giving value is just sharing your expertise, establishing your brand as the expert in your industry. You may decide to share blog posts, do videos, create, have your social media posts, but really just giving to your audience. And a lot of times we're saying, I don't want to give away too much, I charge for my knowledge, that kind of thing. But people work with you mainly because of getting that assistance with actually implementing steps. So you giving them the information isn't going to hurt them. They may try to implement it themselves. And if they do try it themselves, that's actually a good thing, because now they know exactly why they need your help and how you can assist them. So if you feel like what you have to share is, something that your audience needs to know, then it is value. Let them know the steps that are required to get them to where to get them to where they need to be to work with your business. Eventually, you may have an offer, but focus on just creating posts. Focus on really just, creating content that gives. I'm a giver. That's kind of like my motto, I guess you could say, is just really teaching. And I know that my clients that come to me, they come to me for a one-on-one approach. The content that I share is more general. So when you come to me for a one-on-one, it's more tailored to your specific business. So on social media, I create blog posts, I share videos. I'm really about giving, because I know that when you consume my content online, you're sure that you want to work with me.
Okay, so other people also say when you're giving value that you should always hold back, because you don't want to give all of your best content away for free. What do you think about that?
I guess I have mixed feelings because I give away a lot and I don't feel bad about it, because again, people come to me for the actual concrete steps specifically for their business. You can consume my content all day, but you're still going to have to figure it out for your business. If you can do that, if it's a do-it-yourself approach, amazing. I'm so happy that my content was able to, help you get amazing results. But that helps me understand who I need to work with and who I don't, because people are at different levels and everyone's not your client, but they may be able to consume part of your content and benefit from it. So I believe in giving. It's up to, that's at your personal discretion, what you feel like you want to give. But I know my personal approach, I focus on giving because that's what allowed me to book clients. Putting that content out there and them seeing that, hey, Briana knows her stuff. She has done this for clients. These are her client reviews, and people can actually see and get an understanding of my level of expertise. And so they have a better understanding of how exactly I can help them.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And what you're saying is really resonating with me and my experience too. And I think perhaps for other people that are listening, I love sharing information and I'm kind of known for it.
Yeah.
And I've never held back. I've never held back. I guess, I believe that you should just give, and you give because it's a good thing to do, and you give without expectation, and you give without receiving. So I don't understand all these people who say, I'm only going to give a little bit because I want money for the rest, and da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
I think, when you have an offer, and there'll be times when you have an offer, or there'll be times when you want to sell something, a program, a service. I think what I do is I just be transparent about that. And I let them know, hey, this email is going to be about something that I've got coming up that you might be interested in.
Right.
And I'll let them know right from the outset. I don't like, sneak it in at the end of anything. Catch them off guard.
I even list my prices on my website.
Yeah.
And
that
doesn't work. So that doesn't work for some coaches, and I completely understand. But that personally helps me eliminate any gray areas. You see exactly what my packages include, the prices, and you can make that informed decision of if you feel that we're a good fit, if I'm in your budget, and you can see my work to determine if you feel as though I can get the job done. And if you don't feel like I can get the job done, that is perfectly fine, because people have different styles. There's so many different types of people in this world. So you have, again, it goes back to understanding that your tribe is out there, your ideal clients are out there. And once you start to share your expertise and establish your brand as that expert, they're going to start to notice you. And it may not happen overnight. A lot of times it doesn't. So you have to build that rapport. And you can't argue with people for wanting to get to know your brand more before they spend money with you. People are spending their hard-earned money, so they have the right to ask questions. They have the right to do research. So give them what they want so they can make an informed decision and they can come and work with you.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's so true. And I love what you were saying about, your tribe is out there, and it will take a little bit of time. And
definitely,
it doesn't matter really whether it's about building your brand, or whether it's about finding your dream team, or whether it's about finding your ideal client. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You have to show up. And and sometimes even people that I work with, they're like, well, I did that thing, Brooklyn, and I still don't have 500 new followers. I'm like, well, you have to keep doing that thing. And, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk who said he had a podcast or a YouTube channel, I forget what it was, for 3 years before it got any traction. But he kept showing up. And there was another entrepreneur as well. I can't remember his name, but he did videos on YouTube every single day for 2 years. And no one was following, no one was viewing. It was like less than 10 people every single time.
Wow.
And then one day it all happened, and there was a tipping point. And, so I think like that, it's really about the long game.
That I completely agree. And what showing up does for you, it's practice. So when it's game time, you're ready to go. And being consistent is only going to help build confidence. Confidence is key. You have to be able to communicate what you do, who you are, who you help, and how you help your customers and clients. So putting that content online, whether it's even in person, if you're doing events or, speaking, hosting events, it's all about just putting that content out there, and people are going to gravitate to that. Again, people have to get used to your brand. You have to build that rapport. So continue to put that content out there. I believe that consistency is key. You may not get those results right away. It's going to be frustrating. I can speak from personal experience. I remember showing up and not getting the results that I expected, and it was really frustrating. But because I continued to push, I eventually started to begin getting results, and it was like a snowball effect. So your hard work will pay off.
Yeah. And what is your sense around how frequently people should be sharing content?
It
Because we're
definitely
hearing all
depends.
sorts of different things.
Right. I think it depends on your business, and honestly, that goes into your life, and just what your daily schedule looks like. Because some people will tell you to post 3 to 5 times a day, and that's not realistic for you. So you have to figure out what you can dedicate and start with that. And then if you can be more frequent, then begin to add on. But start where you are now, and don't wait to take action until you can post 3 times a day. If you can start out with 1 time a day, start out with that. Your audience will begin to warm up with you, and then they'll begin to expect you once a day. And that was what I did. I post once a day on each of my main profiles, and that has worked for me. Now, I may have, who knows, I may have been able to build my audience faster if I posted 3 times a day. I don't personally think that. But I've been able to build a really good audience just by showing up when I can. And you define your consistency. No one can define your consistency but you. So define your consistency, figure out what you can give, and start there and be consistent in showing up. Don't try to do what other people are doing. Take advice, do your research, try things out. Don't be afraid to try things out. But if you try posting 3 times a day and that doesn't work for you, take it down to 2 times, take it down to 1 time a day, and just try things out to figure out what works best for you and to really figure out your groove.
That is such helpful guidance. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Now, before we go, I would really love to hear a little bit more about your book.
Yes. So my book is called The Formula, Your Guide to Building an Impactful Brand. It will be available for pre-orders on January 30th. I'm really excited about this book because it's pretty much everything I've learned about branding over the past couple of years. So it is a high-level overview, and it goes over everything that your brand strategy should include, how to get clear on your brand values, figuring out who your target audience are, conducting that market research, the visual branding, your website, your logo, then to actually connecting with your audience. So I really cover a huge chunk of, just your business in general. And what I focused on is really just giving my all in this book, because I want you to be able to take action. One thing about me is I take pride in the fact that I've created what I like to call a no fluff zone. So again, I focus on giving value, but I want to see you win, and I want to see you taking action. So this book not only includes content to teach you, but there are questions, there are action steps, and I want to see you build the brand that you've always dreamed of. So I created this book to help you do just that.
I'm so excited for your book. It sounds
Thank
like
you.
just the remedy we all need
Yes.
to help us with our branding. It's come at the right time. Thank you.
No problem.
Now, how can people connect with you, Briana, if they're wanting to, learn more about how you can help them and, participate in some of your services?
Yeah, so I have a lot of resources, but if you're wanting to get in contact with me, if you're interested in brand strategy services or graphic design, I have my consulting business, which is HelloBriana Consulting. And you can visit HelloBrianaConsulting.com. I have all of my services, testimonials, all of that great stuff. And you can really just learn how I can help you on your entrepreneurial journey. And then for my personal brand, features, speaking engagements, and if you really just want to just learn and just, consume some great content around branding and building your business and being your best self, you can check out my personal website, which is brianaross.co.
Awesome. Do you have any Facebook groups that people can join?
Yes, so I have a free Facebook group called The Strategist Corner with Briana Ross. So this is my Facebook group where I really just give my all. I go live, I teach, I hold my members accountable, I give challenges, all of that great stuff. So this is a great place for you if you're an entrepreneur who's looking to just take action, be surrounded by like-minded individuals, and really learn how to build that impactful brand that you've always dreamed of.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to go and check it out when we
Thank
get off
you.
Zoom today.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much for your time and for all of your guidance and your tips and advice. It's really meant the world to me, and I'm sure to my listeners as well. And you've given some really practical suggestions that I'll be able to go away and implement. And guys, if you're listening, I would recommend that perhaps you listen a second time, but with a pen and paper, so that you can take some notes. Thank you, Briana.
Thank you so much, Brooklyn. I really enjoyed it. And again, thank you for the opportunity. It's always amazing to connect with amazing other women.
You're so welcome. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope that you enjoyed it and got a lot of value from it. Help me help others by sharing this podcast. And if you feel called to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, remember to let me know so that I can send you a very special thank you gift. Now go and build your dream business, and I will see you next time. Bye.